This is the Let's Connect with Leslie O'Hare podcast. Your host, Leslie O'Hare, dating and conflict resolution coach, TV personality, TEDx speaker, and author, created this podcast to ignite a spark of excitement that will immediately educate, motivate, empower, and inspire you to live your best life. Let's Connect is more than a talk show. It's a conversation show. Let's have a conversation. Here's Leslie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Let's Connect with Leslie O'Hare podcast. I am so excited to begin this show. For those of you who know me, my background is as a TV host, hosting my own television talk show for several years on an ABC affiliate station, as well as in New York City, and being a TED Talk speaker, dating and resolution conflict coach, as well as an author. So I have a very broad background, as you just heard my beautiful host announce me a few minutes ago, or MC I should call her. And so this is a little bit different for me. I'm used to being in front of the television in a studio with an audience, and this is different to be on a podcast, but it's something that I've always wanted to do. I talk a lot about the power of manifestation, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the show before we end the show. But the power of manifestation, the law of attraction, when you want something and you really desire to have something, if you think it, believe it, and I love to add eat, drink, and sleep it, and pray about it and have faith about it, it will definitely manifest. And you can do the great things, especially when you're utilizing your gifts and talents to make a difference in the lives of other people. And that's really the thought behind Let's Connect. Let's Connect is about connecting. We have been in such a whirlwind for over a year now with the pandemic. And so I think the pandemic has really caused a lot of us to disconnect in so many different ways. And anyone who knows me knows I'm a hugger. I'm a touchy-feely person. I just love to nurture. I love to let people know that they are loved. And it's been very difficult during the virus, not being able, during the pandemic, to not be able to really touch and hug the way that we want to. You know, nowadays, if someone coughs or sneezes, we kind of back up a little bit, or we have to think about, do they want us to shake their hand, or do they want us to give them a hug? And life shouldn't be that way. And so I thought to myself, what could I do as an individual to utilize my platform to make a difference? Let's connect. We need to connect, whether it's an employer-employee relationship, husband and wife relationship, sibling relationship, parent-child relationship. It doesn't matter. Every single day of our life, we're connecting in some capacity. It's just, how do we make those connections? Are they healthy connections? Are they not healthy connections? And if they are healthy connections, how do we connect and be able to build that rapport and relationship to keep these relationships solid? One of the best ways to do it, and most of you who know me know, I'm a huge communicator, sometimes very long-winded. And for those of you who don't know me, you'll find that out throughout the show. I'm a work in progress, though. I'm working on shortening it just a little bit. And but I think Let's Connect is really about, let's have these conversations. This is really going to be more than a talk show. It's actually a conversation show. And during the show, you will have an opportunity, if you want to chat live with me, ask me any questions, or chime in about the show. I'm the only one that will see those questions. It's at my liberty if I want to release them or not for everyone else to see. So I just want us to have fun. Sometimes there's going to be guests on the show. Sometimes it's just going to be me, like today on the show. And I just want you to relax. I want you to enjoy the show, and I hope that it makes a difference in your life today. One of the topics that I'm going to discuss today is rules of engagement, how to address conflict in your relationship. As a dating and conflict relationship coach, I can't begin to tell you how many times that's like the big top of everybody's radar. How do I overcome conflict? How do I deal with conflict in a relationship? If we don't know how to deal with it, if we don't know how to manage it and manage ourselves in conflicts and conversations, then we won't have healthy conversations at all. So we're going to delve into that a little bit. I also have an Ask Leslie segment, that there are questions that I asked individuals on social media to send to me ahead of time. If you're online again and want to send me some questions, and if I have time, I will definitely answer that. And so what we're going to do really quick is take a real quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll start talking about the rules of engagement and how to address conflict in your relationship. Be right back in a moment.
Did you know that how you are perceived by others is a direct reflection of how you present yourself to the world? The brainchild of stylist Bobby Schwartz, Be Iconic Style is the online resource for all women looking to up their style game. From learning how to address the challenge of daily dressing and building your essential wardrobe, to learning how to build your power wardrobe and dressing for success, Be Iconic Style is the only website you'll ever need. We even do the shopping for you. Looking for a one-on-one consultation with Bobby? We do that too. Visit us online at BeIconicStyle.com. Be confident, be empowered, be iconic.
So let's delve into rules of engagement and how to address conflict in your relationship. I touched upon it a little bit a few moments ago. It's very important that we do have the proper tools to be able to address conflict. And when I think of conflict in a relationship, I think a lot of times about the how our brain operates. And so I found this online and thought I would share it with you. It says it's not magic, it's neurology. The neural activity in our brain increases fivefold. Stories illuminate the city of our mind. Essentially, our brains run on electrical pulses. And when we hear stories, our brains light up. Neuroscientists have this saying that neurons that fire together, wire together. And so let's think about that for a moment. When we think about the stories, just the stories that we tell ourselves when we're dealing in relationships and dealing with conflict. A lot of times in relationships, I know I've done it. I know a lot of my clients have done it. We tend to fabricate stories in our mind of what we think the relationship is, or what we think our partner is doing, or what we think about a particular situation, a conflict type situation, or any situation. And so whatever that story may be in your mind that you're painting for yourself, and it's making you feel a certain way, because remember, feelings are not fact. And so when we start doing these, our brain lights up. Oh my God, that's a new bit of information. You know, I'll give you an example. If you're a woman and the guy doesn't call you the next day, well, doesn't mean he wasn't interested. Doesn't mean he doesn't like you. Doesn't mean he's not into you. It just means simply he didn't call you back the next day, maybe because he was busy, maybe for any number of reasons. But a lot of times in our minds, we tend to fabricate these stories, but it makes our brain light up. And when our brain light up, we begin to light up and we get really, really fired, and the anxiety builds up, and it can take a normal conversation or a situation and turn it into something that's more of a conflict type of situation, when it never had to do that in the very beginning in the first place. So why do we need rules? Well, I'll give you an example. I used to be a foster care mom, and I remember my kids would always say, they called me honey. Why is it that we have to have all these rules? Why is it that we have to do X, Y, Z? And I would always give them this analogy. I tell them, think about driving down the road and these little signs that says 55 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour, etc. If we don't abide by those rules, what happens? The police officer can pull us over, and we have a high probability of possibly getting a ticket. Then that goes on our license, and that can increase our insurance. On top of that, you have a big bill that you have to pay. Or you have to take the time to go down to the courthouse to try and fight this situation, the conflict that you would not have been in if you had followed the rules. So this is one of the reasons why we want to have rules in a relationship and in a conflict situation, because the rules will help us be able to stay on common ground. The rules will help us be able to have something to keep us grounded, so to speak, so that we don't go off course. Because let's utilize the police in a situation of getting stopped for driving too fast. Well, the police in a conflict situation in your relationship could be the end of a relationship. It could be the end. If it's not the end, it could be where you're tearing down so many layers of the onion that there's no onion left, because there's so much conflict, there's so much tension, because no one wanted to follow rules in the relationship and wanted to dance by the beat of their own music. So let's talk about, why do we need rules? It is imperative to set rules in your relationships. If you want to fight fair, then you'll want to set rules, or what I like to call boundaries, to help you and your partner to be able to transition from anger to calm as quickly as possible. When anger, tension, and frustration begin to take over your relationship, it would be wise of you to take the time to have a few prearranged, mutually agreed upon rules in place. Rules make good sense in a relationship and marriages to keep couples from making serious, life-threatening, life-altering mistakes with each other. And some of those life-altering mistakes can be anything from someone deciding to step outside of the marriage with infidelity because of this conflict that wasn't resolved and it went completely left. It could be from someone deciding, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. And not that they really don't want to be in the relationship. They're really saying, I don't want to deal with these issues and conflict anymore because they don't want to take the time to deal with the issues, to be able to manage themselves, manage the issues so that the relationship can continue to flourish. And so this is why we need rules, so that we can keep everything on common ground and we don't make these life-altering mistakes that in turn a lot of times we end up regretting. So let's go to our next slide. What is relationship conflict? A conflict is a clash of interests. A relationship conflict is a struggle, disagreement, argument, or debate that takes place between two people within a relationship. How you address, assess, and solve relationship conflicts determines whether the relationship is healthy or unhealthy. Anyone who has interactions with other people, you're going to experience conflict. It's inevitable because of the aspect of human relations. Conflict is an opportunity for both parties in a relationship to experience change. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Change can be good sometimes. Conflict is part of life. This is a great opportunity for you and your partner to invite change into your life and into your heart. So let's delve into this part a little bit more. I talk about addressing and assessing your relationship. Well, you do need to address the issue at hand. It's not good to cover anything under the carpet and keep putting a Band-Aid on it, because when you rip that Band-Aid off or you rip that rug off, there's still going to be that real big spot right there because you didn't deal with it. But you also want to assess it. You have to assess the conflict. You have to figure out, where's this conflict coming from? When is a good time to have this conversation? You have to assess it in such a manner so that you're able to manage the conflict, so that you're able to build from this, and so that the change that you see in this conflict can be better for you and your partner. And that's why change is inevitable. And that's why change is good in a relationship. That's why sometimes conflict is good in a relationship. Because if you keep walking on eggshells I've heard many couples say this: we never argue. We have the best marriage ever. We never argue. We just have the best time. Well, I tell those people in those relationships, well, that's not really a relationship, to be very honest with you. Because if you never have a disagreement, you never have an argument, you never have any conflict in your relationship, you probably really don't have a real relationship. So now keep in mind, I know the hair stood up on some of your backs by me saying that. This show is about having a conversation. Anyone who knows me knows I'm all about being real. And so the only way to do this and connect with you is for me to be real. So I'll say that again. Then you don't really have a real relationship, because you have to be able to know that everything is not perfect. You should not walk around in a relationship on eggshells. It's not real. It's not being vulnerable. It's not being your real, true, authentic self. And in order to have a true relationship, you're going to have to be your authentic self. You're going to have to delve deep into those conversations that we don't want to have. But understand, on the other side of that, if you manage that conflict properly, the explosiveness of love that you can have for each other and respect for each other in that relationship is explosive. 8 causes of conflict. So we have 8 of them. We have anger. Anger is that frustration that causes that bitter and that tension in a relationship. We have truth. Truth is two people having a conversation about the conflict, and somewhere in there someone says, well, it's not me. It must be you. I'm not the one with the problem. You're the only one to bring something to the table in this conflict. Well, you got to be real and you got to be truthful. Maybe it's both of you. And 9 times out of 10, when there's a conflict and there's an issue going on, everybody has a part to play. You just have to decide, what role did you play on that stage in that conflict during that time? What was the role that you played? And be truthful about your role and be transparent about your role so that together you all can come to a quick resolution. Jealousy. A lot of times jealousy is a conflict. I've had counseled many couples, where the husband is jealous of the wife because she's a go-getter, she's a mover and a shaker, she knows her purpose and he doesn't, or vice versa. The wife is jealous because the husband is a mover and a shaker, he knows his destiny, he's walking in his purpose, and he's successful, and she hasn't just figured it out yet. So there's many levels of jealousy. There's jealousy of infidelity. There's jealousy when your partner, whether you're dating or married, goes somewhere out of town or on a phone call and don't answer your call whenever you call them. This is a big one. They don't click over to the other line to answer your call because you're so important. And then the first thing your mind tells you is, oh my God, is he talking to another woman? Oh my God, is she talking to another man? Again, stop fabricating these stories in your mind. No, it's none of that. It's just they didn't click over to answer the call because they had another important phone call on the other line. Doesn't mean you're less important. It just means they couldn't get to you at the time. So we gotta let the jealousy go in all aspects of our lives and our relationships. Retaliation. Retaliation is a big one. I have seen many people retaliate because they think their partner did something. I think they're doing XYZ, so I'm going to go out and do XYZ. I think they're in a situation that they shouldn't be, whether it's an affair or whatever it may be, so I'm going to retaliate against them. Or he or she didn't answer my phone call, so when they call me back again, I'm not going to answer their phone call. They didn't buy me a gift on my birthday. I'm not going to buy them a gift on their birthday. Retaliation is very childish. It doesn't get anyone anywhere. And ask yourself, as Dr. Phil always says, what is really your payoff? And it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Never, ever retaliate. Self-implication. We do this a lot as women. A lot of times in relationships, when there's something goes wrong, the first thing we say, and I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? And why did I do XYZ? A lot of times we don't even know what XYZ is, but we begin to tell ourselves what XYZ is. And a lot of times in relationships, men will make us feel this way. They will make us feel like you did this, it's your fault, it's you. Well, no, it's not you. It's not always you. It's not always anybody. But the thing is, don't put yourself in a situation that has nothing to do with you to that magnitude as far as self-implication. Have a conversation first, see what role you played, see what role your partner played, and then come up with a solution to move forward so that the man nor the woman, no one's self-implicating themselves in any particular way. It's just about, here's an issue at hand. How do we manage it so we can move forward? Power and control is number 6. A lot of times power and control causes a lot of conflict because someone in a relationship wants to be the main person. They want to take control. They want to have that power. And a lot of times they beat the other person, their partner down to the ground with their demands, with their orders, with what they want, how they want it. And I always tell people, when you come to a partner, whether you're married or dating, and you have expectations of that person, look at yourself in a mirror and ask yourself, are you holding yourself up to the same rules and standards as you are for the other person? And if you're not, then you got a lot of work to do. Never put another person in position to do something or ask of them something that you're not willing to do, because when you do that, that is a power play. That's you taking control of the relationship and control of the situation. In relationships, there should be no war for who has control. Release your control, be vulnerable, love one another, respect one another, and you will have as little conflict as you can imagine if you let go some of these various issues that's causing the conflict, which is yourself getting in your own way. Number 7, lack of vulnerability causes conflict. It's very important to be vulnerable in a relationships. I know we've all been hurt. I know we've all been there. I know it's very hard to be vulnerable. I know it's very hard to give up our heart to someone else, but when you're so close in and you don't give up your heart to let anyone in because you've been hurt, well, here's the thing, newsflash, not everyone's trying to hurt you. Not everybody wants to hurt you. Not everybody's even thinking about hurting you. Just because the last person hurt you, that doesn't mean the person in your life now will. Give them an opportunity, but you got to be vulnerable. You got to open up your heart. You got to open up your heart to let them in so you can see what the relationship can fully be about, to see if you can get to another level, a higher level. Number 8, withholding sex. Big one here. I hear it all the time from my clients. A lot of times the man and woman, they'll hold sex back from each other because they're so angry. They're not walking in truth. They're so jealous. They're retaliating. And they have all these different conflict issues going on in their brain that's causing them again to withhold sex a lot of times because it is retaliation. And sometimes they're withholding not so much because of retaliation and they want to punish the partner, although that does happen, but also because their mind is so inundated with information, with stuff that I call the noise of life, that's holding them back from truly being intimate with their mate instead of sitting down and having a conversation. And this is why conversations are so essential. This is why managing conflict as quickly as possible and moving to a resolution is so important, because it interacts with your intimacy, but it also interacts with other areas of your life, business. It interacts with your family, your friends, and the list goes on and on and on. And you find out before you know it, you're not as productive in life as you normally would be because you never learned how to deal with conflict. And you're carrying this heavy backpack of luggage of conflict on your back instead of having a mature conversation, opening your heart and dealing with the issue at hand. So the price you pay if conflict isn't managed properly. Unmanaged conflict can be catastrophic to relationships. It shadows morale and wrecks dating relationships and marriages. Conflicts cause bitterness, anger, frustration, anxiety, and fear that rears up in the relationship. This can be very damaging to all parties involved. Ignoring a conflict rarely ever resolves it. Oftentimes, it makes the situation worse. A problem which is manageable today may be much more difficult to resolve tomorrow as tension flares up. Unresolved conflict can be debilitating. It weakens attention and energy and creates enemies and hard feelings toward one another in your relationship. And no one wants to walk around. There's nothing like walking around in a relationship with someone with such a heaviness in your heart because you have an unresolved issue and that you are afraid to go talk to the person you're having the issue with because there's going to be some type of retaliation or backlash or judgment. So on the back end of that, the price that you pay if you don't manage it properly and you don't have those conversations is lack of energy, and just a lot of times what can step into play is really low self-esteem for yourself and for the relationship itself. And you find yourselves that you're not in a good place, that you just don't even want to be with each other anymore. And it's not that you don't want to be with each other anymore. It's not that you don't love each other. It's that you have this big hole in the center separating the two of you that no one wants to talk about, the elephant in the room, because they are afraid of conflict and they don't know how to manage it. So when is the best time to address conflict? Well, this is a good one. You know, you never want conflict just to linger in the air for a long period of time, but you never want to address it when tempers are high. You always want to find a proper time for you and your mate to sit down and have a conversation on neutral ground. For some people, it's in their living room. For some people, it's in their car. For some people, it's at a restaurant, a park. I do think the setting is everything. I think when we have a conversation with our partners, setting is everything. And what I mean by that, pick a place that's on common ground that both of you will like, enjoy, and at the same time will not be interrupted. It could be your living room, it could be your patio, it can be in the car, it may be at the park, it may be by the water, wherever it is, a place that you know that brings that type of serenity to the relationship, which is a step in managing and keeping calm. That always helps as well. And as far as a specific time to address conflict, I always say it's best not to wait too long. If tempers are still flaring high that day that the conflict took place, then within 24 to 48 hours at best, which is a long time, 48 hours. But again, managing is having self-control. A lot of times we get so anxious. I'm going to talk to him right now. I'm going to talk to her right now. I want him or her to know right now what my feelings are and how much they tick me off. I'm going to do it right now. Well, that doesn't help anyone. It takes a much more calmer, mature person to say, you know what? I really do want to get this off my chest, but tempers are still flaring up. My partner's still upset. I'm still upset. Today is not a good day. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Let your partner know the day and time that you would like to talk. Schedule it so that no one's caught off guard. Managing conflict isn't about putting your partner in a trap and making them feel that they're backed up into a wall. What do people do when their back is up against the wall? They come out fighting, they come out swinging. There is no calmness, there is no peace. So you want to be mature enough and proactive enough that you do set a schedule as to when is the best time to have this difficult conflict conversation. How to manage conflict in order to fight fair. Well, one of the things you want to remember, you definitely want to stay calm at all times. Staying calm means that you're very careful with your words and you can think. I always say in conflict, I like to personally stay calm because if I'm calm, I can think. And if the person that I'm having a conversation with, if their temper is flaring, I'm just hoping by my calm temper and my lower voice, it will help bring them down and it will not escalate the conversation. Number 2, collaboration. What happens in a business deal when you're collaborating with a team? What is your ultimate goal? Your ultimate goal is to succeed. Your ultimate goal is to see a plan come to fruition and create success. Well, that's your same goal in your relationship. Collaborate together. You're on the same team. Come together, collaborate so that your ultimate goal is that you succeed in the relationship. Acknowledge the conflict. Acknowledge that the conflict is there. It's not going to go anywhere unless you acknowledge it. Acknowledge it and really know exactly what is it about this conflict that we're having that we need to change within each other. What caused this conflict? You also want to analyze the conflict. When I say analyze the conflict, I really mean analyze where is it coming from? What is the trigger of this conflict? And who or what is the reason behind it? Because not necessarily is it always your partner. The thing is never about the thing. We just need to get to the root of what the thing really is, which is what is that root cause of the issue. You also want to know what is it that you want from this conflict? What do you want from this conversation that you're going to have about the conflict? What change do you want to see happen in the relationship and within yourself? This is a good one. Set a 5-minute timer. Display active listening. Listen without judgment. It's very important to display active listening when your partner is having a conversation with you about conflict and to listen without judgment. You are creating a safe space for you and your partner to have a conversation and letting your partner know, I hear you, I see you, you're being heard. And that lets your partner know you care enough about what they're saying instead of just yelling and blowing off the handle. I don't want to talk about this anymore. We've talked about this so many times. And you don't want to do that. That doesn't help anything or anyone, definitely not your relationship. Also, always be respectful. Be respectful when you have conflict in your relationship. There's no reason to get rude. There's no reason to be demeaning. And then you want to be mature and take ownership. Take ownership. What is the part you had to play in this conflict? Compromise or negotiate. Come to some type of common ground so you can eventually move on and this conflict can be out of your life. You don't always have to win. You don't always have to be right. Come to some type of compromise together that you can live with realistically in the relationship. Never use the blame game. It's your fault. You did this. You. Remember, when you're pointing a finger at one person, you have 3 more fingers pointing right back at you. So don't use the blame game. The other, number 11, is to compartmentalize, stay in the present. When you're having a conflict, a lot of times I see couples do, whether they're dating or married, they tend to go back in the past. Well, you're talking about an issue that just happened, what this conflict is about, but we have the tendency to go back in the past and go, remember when you did this? Remember when you did this on September 1st, 1999? Remember when you did this on August 1st, 1993, that far back, even if it was last month, if it has nothing to do with the issue at hand right now, why bring it up? Because you're now stacking and compiling more frustration on top of more frustration. Now what ends up happening, the conflict that you really sat down to talk about, you tend to push that to the side and forget about it because you're talking about something that happened yesterday, last month, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago. It's not important. Deal with the issue at hand. It keeps the conversation shorter. It keeps everybody focused and in tune. And the object of the goal here is to move forward from this situation today. Number 12, never use force or threaten to end the relationship. Never do that. I see a lot of married couples. If you do this again, I'm going to divorce you. If you do this again, the D word. And even in dating relationships, I'm going to break up with you. I'm going to break up with you. I'm going to break up with you. Well, you know what? Threats. It's surface level. It's not that deep. You can follow through on that threat and make it deep. Yes, you can. But again, what is your payoff? So what's the purpose of the threat? That is a very immature approach to take. The best way to do is to manage the temper, manage the conversation, deal with it in a more mature manner and atmosphere without throwing any threats to anyone, and then see where your relationship can go. Threats cause hurt, pain, anxiety, frustration. It is not helping in the conflict. It's only escalating it much quicker. Number 13, quickly move on from fighting to get to a resolution, and never ever walk away from the conflict without walking away with a resolution. You can always come to a resolution. Now, the resolution, sometimes some people will say when I'm coaching them, well, this situation is so big, it's so explosive that we deal with it in one conversation. That sometimes is true. If it's a huge situation, and you can't come to a resolution that day, at least come to some type of resolution that day of, we're going to table this right now, but do I have your commitment that we will come back to this in another day, another 2 days, 3 days? Compromise together, negotiate a day and time frame that we commit to each other. We're going to come back and have part 2 of this conversation, and we're going to follow the same steps. We're going to manage our conflict, we're going to manage our temper, but we're going to have a part 2 of this conversation without judgment and without someone in a relationship blowing up saying, I'm tired of having this conversation, we just had it already, I'm not going to have it again. Every single conflict and every situation in a relationship is not resolved in the same day, so you do have to give yourself grace, give your partner grace, and you have to give your relationship grace to understand things do happen in phases. You do want to quickly get to a resolution. It may take some time, but at least quickly work toward that. And I'm not talking about 10 meetings. You should be able to resolve a conflict type of conversation within about 3 meetings or so, to kind of see from about 2 to 3 meetings of having a heavy conversation about a heavy topic, so that you can, again, as quickly as possible, get to the moving forward. And here's the thing about having part 1, part 2, and part 3 of those conversations, is not to go back to part 1. Do not bring part 1 back up. If you have to have a third conversation, do not bring 2 and 1 up. You've already talked about it. 3 should be a conclusion conversation to get to a resolution. Does that make sense? So let's look at this. I have the relationship formula. Mirror plus value plus trust equals faith. And so let's talk about mirror for a moment. What I hear you say, mirroring what your partner says will prevent any misunderstanding and prevent your conversation from escalating into a full-on, never-ending fight. Stop and focus on what is being communicated. Put your own opinions and feelings and logic on hold for a moment, and let your partner know that you truly do hear them. This lets your partner know that you are not only intently listening to him or her, but you care about what they are saying, and you're letting your partner know that they and their concerns are very important to you, which is very critical and crucial in a relationship. Let's talk about value. Make certain that even if you don't agree with what your partner is saying, that you value your partner's point of view. Let them know that you see them, that they are not visible. Let your partner know that you value their opinion. Basically, what you're doing here is validating your partner and showing love for your partner in a relationship. There's nothing like being in a relationship and feeling invisible. There's nothing like not being seen. We all want to be seen, and we all want to be heard, and we all should give each other the opportunity to be seen and heard. What is the value of conflict in a relationship? Another benefit of relationship conflict is self-awareness. Through disagreements, one can learn to see his or her own communication, relationships, or behavioral problems, giving him or her the ability to make necessary changes, which would benefit him or her as well as their relationship. Conflict opens the opportunity for you and your partner to communicate your wants and needs. This will help you to understand each other better. Effective communication allows you to be more open and vulnerable, and it increases intimacy. Hence, your relationship strengthens. Now, when I talk about intimacy, I am talking sex, but I'm not just talking sex. And I think that's where the misconfusion is when we talk about intimacy. Intimacy is also sitting down with your partner and feeling that chemistry and that connection when you're just sitting there watching a movie, sitting across the table having dinner, even just talking on the phone or texting one another. And you build that intimacy. Intimacy isn't just about sex. Sex is great and it's a necessity in a marriage. However, intimacy is so much more important, because intimacy is deep, it's nurturing, it's loving, it's caring, it's showing your partner that I have your back no matter what. Now that's intimacy. I support you, I love you, and I'm standing here beside you 100% every step of the way. That's great intimacy. And then it makes the sex and everything else just so much more explosive. But I do want to emphasize that intimacy is so much more important. Your time is a high level of intimacy. Conversation is a high level of intimacy. The quicker you and your partner can shift your focus from fighting to resolution, the quicker you can move towards enjoying a heightened level of closeness and respect for each other. Trust. When I talk about trust, I really am talking about the foundation which a relationship is built upon, the foundation which a relationship can survive the hardest of times. In fact, without trust, you cannot sustain your relationship for a long time. Admit your mistakes to your partner without any inhibitions. It's natural to make mistakes, but owning them is not easy. The first thing on your agenda of building trust is to admit your mistakes, because no one's perfect, and create a safe space for your partner to be able to admit those mistakes without judgment. Don't try to cover up your mistakes. The situation becomes messier if you do so. Repentance shows that you want to build trust within that relationship. And there's nothing like being in a relationship where it's built on trust. And let's not forget about the faith in the relationship, faith in God and faith in the relationship. Even when you're so upset with your partner, it's so important to still communicate that you have faith in each other and faith in the relationship. Be real with your partner. You can let them know that you are still upset if you are. However, reinforce that you are grateful for your conversation. You're grateful for their time to take the time to have the conversation with you, and that you have faith that the two of you will get back to being special friends again and a deeper love for each other in order to continue moving the relationship forward. So here's some questions that I want to end with on this. I want you to end this segment, not the show. I want you to ask yourself these questions with you and your partner. 8 essential questions for you and your partner to ask yourselves. Where are we now? Where are you now in the present in this relationship? Where are you coming from? Where are you coming from with the conflict at this point in time in your relationship? Where are you going? What are your future aspirations in this relationship? And where do you want to end this conflict so you can get to the future of being together and loving one another? Number 4, what are the implications of your context? What are you speaking in that context of the conflict when you have that conversation? What are your implications? What is the meaning behind it? Number 5, who are we and what defines us as a couple in this relationship, individually and as a couple? Number 6, what do we care about most in this relationship? What are your ultimate goals that you want to gain from this relationship? And what are you hoping to learn from this conflict so you can get to the motivation and the values of the relationship? Number 7, what do we choose to believe? What are you believing about yourself as an individual? And then what are you believing about yourself as partners in the relationship? Number 8, what power does this conflict have over your relationship? Are you going to allow this power to take control over what you built just to move on to another relationship? Because remember that 80-20 rule. I always tell everyone, no matter what relationship you're in, you're going to always have conflict. You're going to always have problems. The problem in the next relationship could be worse, but at least the relationship you're in, unless it's just so horrific and damaging mentally and physically and abusive, in this relationship, ask yourself, can we move forward? Can we make a difference? Can we make this work? If you don't take the time to deal with conflict and manage it in your current relationship, you're going to have a revolving door of relationships because you've never taken the time to learn and manage yourself, and you've never managed that relationship. And that's no fun in life, to keep having a revolving door. It's better to work with the person that you're with and being able to manifest all the dreams and possibilities that you have together and those commonalities. Look at the commonalities that you have and push forward in that. And number 9, do we want to win? If your answer is yes, work through the process of managing your conflict as a team. And remember, you are on the same team. There is no different team. You're on the same team. And once you can remember that you're definitely on the same team with each other, you can grow, your relationship can flourish and be vulnerable and always have a safe space for you and your partner to come on common grounds together, to be able to manifest the relationship that you have, so that the growth, the love, and the growth that you're intending to have with one another can continue to flourish. So I'll be right back. We're going to take a really quick commercial break.
Hi, I'm Johnny Rodriguez, the owner of Johnny Rodriguez Salon, and I love partnering up with Leslie O'Hara and taking care of our clients. Our main focus is to take care of women and their hair needs, along with their beauty needs. We want to make sure that we get to know you from the inside out. We work with your lifestyle, not just your hairstyle, but your facial structure. We'll teach you how to do your hair, make sure you're confident in how to duplicate that look, and just to make sure that you feel as good on the inside as you do on the outside. So can't wait to work with you, can't wait to come see you, book a consultation or an appointment at either location in Dallas or Plano, and we look forward to seeing you.
So I'm going to go into another segment before I end the show, and it's Ask Leslie. I get a lot of questions via email, private message of people wanting relationship questions answered. And so we're going to delve into that segment in just a moment so I can answer your questions. You can, again, send me information via live chat as well. And so let's get ready for Ask Leslie. So my first question is, what do you think about being invisible in a relationship or marriage to a man, basically? And so I get this question a lot. A lot of times as women, we feel very invisible. The man in the relationship doesn't see us. It's almost like we're there. We're not there. It's like a stone wall. And what I have to say about that is not a good thing. I do think you should sit your partner down and be open and vulnerable with your feelings and how you're feeling in the moment in that relationship, and really trying to decipher, why is there invisibility there? Why don't they see you? When I say don't see you, they physically see you actually. But when a woman or a man in a relationship, because women do it to men as well, it just means that it's like living in a home by yourself. It's not like you're living with a partner, but they don't communicate with you. Sometimes in relationships, they're not sleeping in the same bed with you. There's something that's causing that disruption in the relationship. And when you begin to feel or make your partner feel invisible, you're constantly pulling away layers of the onion and breaking that relationship down. It is now time to have a conversation and figure out where that is coming from. Where is it stemming from? So you can have those open conversations in a safe space and be able to move forward from it, as we talked earlier, because that's a huge conflict. When someone feels invisible, they don't feel seen. They don't know their footing. Everyone needs to know their footing in a relationship. Have a conversation with your partner. Be open and honest about how they're making you feel. Feeling is not facts, but something is driving that to make you think that and get to that point. So have a conversation with your partner. The next question: what are some questions that I should ask my partner to ensure that I'm giving my partner everything that they need in our relationship? Well, one of the things I think is it's very important to go to your partner. I always say you need to do inventory. Stores do inventory all the time to make certain that the inventory, the products that they have are there, or how much more that they need. You need to do the same thing in your relationship. Well, I'll take it a step further with you. We have business plans, an agenda for our business, our goals, where we're going, what's our end game. In a relationship, when we're dating, we need to have a date plan. When we're married, we need to have a marriage plan. You always need to know where you're going in a relationship. And you always, again, have to be open and vulnerable in a relationship. I can't say that enough. And so you really want to sit down with, if you're dating, I would say it's okay to take inventory of your relationship maybe every 3 months. 2 to 3 months to kind of figure out what's going on in a relationship. You don't want to come to the person every single day. What is it that I can do for you? What is it that you're missing? What is it that you need from me? But you do want to come to your person, even if you're married, and say, is there anything missing in the relationship? Is there anything that I'm not giving you that you need from me? Because my goal is to give you what you need so that we can be happy. And in turn, you're wanting the same thing from your partner. So I think these conversations are very essential. And if you're married or dating, I tell you another great time to take inventory is on your anniversary. Take inventory every year to kind of figure out where we're going in the next year. What is it that we need to be better to each other and for each other and even individually? But aside from that, every anniversary inventory check, I would say every 2 to 3 months to take an inventory check with your partner, make certain we're on the same page. But remember, if your partner, when you go to your partner and your partner comes to you, vice versa, be honest and let them know, yes, there is a problem. If there is, be honest and talk about the problem right now and be quickly and ready to correct it and move forward. Here's one. What do you think about open marriages? Well, I think that exactly what it says is open. When you open yourself up to certain things that's not good, you're opening yourself up to damaging your relationship. Open relationships are never a good thing. I don't recommend it to anyone. And I don't recommend it because when you make a commitment to someone, whether it's in a dating relationship or whether it's in a marriage, you're making a commitment to that one person. Here's another thing that I find when people are dating. They think because they're dating, no, you're not held at the same standards as you are when you're married because God says don't commit adultery. That's true. But God does say treat thy neighbor how you want to be treated. So even when you're dating, just make certain when you're in a committed relationship, you're faithful to one another. When you start bringing, here's one way to think about it. We talk about conflict in a relationship between two people. Imagine conflict in a relationship bringing in a third party or two more people. And it's 4 of you with these different personalities and conflicts that you're having. Just imagine how much damage and explosiveness you're causing right then and there. Focus on just the 2 of you. Be happy with the relationship that you're in. Make that work and give that your time and leave other people out of your relationship. So if you want to, again, I get some questions coming in. You can chat live with me. I will try my best before I end the show in just a few moments to answer your questions if I can. If not, I will come back to your questions at a later date on another show. Remember, it's every Friday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And, I just really think that the questions are important. I think that it's also important to be able to be free to ask questions. And I think that this is a safe place here on the podcast. And this is one reason why I wanted to do the Ask Leslie segment, so that we can have a safe place during the podcast to be able to be open, honest, and vulnerable. We're going to take one more quick commercial break and I'll be right back. I want to end the show today talking about manifestation. I think manifestation is very important. I touched upon it in the beginning of the show. I think whatever you want out of life, you have to speak it, believe it. You have to walk in it. You have to have faith in it. And you have to persevere through it in order to make it become a reality in your life. And I want to leave you with this. Whatever it is that you're hoping for, whatever it is that you're praying to God for, whatever it is that you're wanting, whether it's in your relationship, in your business, just in your life, or be a better person, whatever that is, speak it, believe it, walk in it. And I always say, eat, drink, and live it. Don't let it go. Hold on to it like a pit bull holding on to a bone. And know that if you don't give up, you persevere in it, walk it out, you will definitely manifest every single dream that you ever wanted to come to fruition. So I'm going to put it out there and put my manifestation out there. You know, I can't tell you and don't walk the walk. So one of the things that I am manifesting in my life is a few different things. I definitely am going to, and I won't say hope, wish, I am going to host my own television talk show on the OWN network. I am going to interview Miss Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, Will Packer, President Barack Obama and Michelle, as well as Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. I am also going to host some of the reunions on the OWN network with Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey for some of the shows that they air on their on the OWN network, and they have a host come in to do the reunions. I am definitely going to be that host one day. So what are you manifesting today? Put it in the chat, let me know, or just manifest it, speak it out loud to yourself, and definitely do not let it go. So I do want you to like me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And definitely do not forget to go to Leslie O'Hare on Facebook and send me a friend request so we can be friends and you can stay up to date on what's going on the show, and connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And if you would like assistance with conflict resolution or dating coaching for your relationship, please reach out to me via leslieohairemedia.com, and myself or my team will make certain to get back in contact with you. If you want to hire me as a coach, as a personal coach, again, just make certain to go to leslieohairemedia.com. You can also find me at letsconnectrelationships.com. If you're wanting to book me to speak at your upcoming events in person or via virtual technology, go to leslieohairemedia.com as well. And I look so forward to being with you next Friday and every Friday, 3 p.m. Central Time. Make certain to tell your friends about it. Make certain to come back next Friday. This has been so much fun. I just love being here with you. Don't forget, let's connect and let's remember to continue to dream. And let's remember to dream big. And I look forward to seeing you next time right here live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, 3 p.m. Central Time right here. Till next time. Bye, everybody. I want you to have a fantastic day.